Hello, let's talk about seemingly perpetual US tech layoffs. This is gonna be my opinionated view on why and what to do about it, analyzing various possible explanations, what companies give, what can be actually happening as well. It's not gonna have a lot of uh, details in a sense, I wouldn't give specific numbers or give a list of companies. That one you can find online, and just making video is a bit harder because I need to contact sources for that to do it properly. So I would rather focus on more high level things and just some more logical analysis, plus some facts I gathered over the years, plus based on some of talks with people who were affected by layoffs. But ultimately, it's gonna be probably pretty opinionated. So keep that in mind, and let's go to the topics. So we're gonna cover COVID's impact on tech, layoffs ramping up after pandemic is kind of over. Then several things for analyzing possible reasons and what companies claim, and basically if it sustains a criticism. And then talking a bit about the future and current state too. Are we gonna have years of efficiency and kind of what's going on with that, and what to do about all of this? So COVID's impact on tech, basically in short, it increased the market because people started to spend much more time online to stay at home orders. But as vaccination became massive in 2021 and beyond, and also COVID started to become less aggressive, then we started to see people shifting back towards more regular offline behaviors, and the market kind of got back to where it was. But companies who gambled and who thought that maybe future is more remote, invested a lot into this, they saw their gamble not paying off, and their margins drop, as well as some stock prices, and that caused to do some layoffs. So that brings us to one of the possible reasons is market shrinking post-COVID, and basically for example, mobile advertisement also suffered, um, and then for example, companies like Meta, they saw their stock price reduced several x times, and they were needed some cost efforts, so reduction efforts to help the situation. It seems reasonable at first glance, but at the same time, notice that in most cases, regular employees suffered disproportionately, although they were often offered a pretty decent severance. And but at the same time, I haven't seen much of CEOs saying "Hey, I'll reduce my salary," to make it need to do less layoffs. I think there's been some exceptions, but they were pretty rare. But after all of this, there came another one. Apparently, you think that there would be some initial layoffs and then it would stop, but well, no. Cutting low performance, or so-called low performance. It's some companies also similarly Meta did this. It can look like a reasonable excuse, if you cut some people, whom would you pick? Low performance seems kind of makes sense, but devil is in details. What about teams and orgs which don't have low performance or have disproportionately low count? And what if some people performed great for many years but had one bad year? And it's also pretty hard to make sure actually low performance are cut and not just people who are new to the team, etc. Yeah, what if you just don't have evaluation for somebody? Also, how do we avoid hire to fire situation? And some companies are notorious for that. And overall, it's a cultural damage too. It's drastic shift from early approach focused on helping people to grow, even help them through hard times, to just basically, hey, you're not performing, you're out. It's kind of toxic. But unfortunately, that seems pretty prevalent in big tech these days. and it's like make people play in a game of n+1 people and chairs, so making them think more of their survival rather than actually like building some common good. Yeah. So I'm personally not buying this like low performance stuff. At least like people shouldn't be labeled as such, because that also hurts their job prospects. Like what if they were not actually a low performer but like were cut during this like so-called wave. Another one is like management layers reduction. Several companies did this. They claim to like reduce bureaucracy and simplify decision making to like have less layers to things to go through. It kind of makes sense in the first glance, but also doesn't take into account the increased load on remaining managers. Like, for example, if like if the managers are starting to now get like I don't know 20, 25 people to report, that may be like too much. And doesn't seem like there's been as much like focus on explaining how we like they restructure or how they restructure like various like decision making itself. And also it can affect like normal or high performance as well. So this is kind of meh. But I heard stories of like say people asked to transition to individual contributor or just asked to leave. I've seen some examples of like say even VPs being like disproportionately or selectively like affected. So it's again like damage into the culture and creates this like n+1 people and chairs game, and again people like starting to care a lot more about survival rather than actually like doing the right thing. Another one, shift investment areas. If more budget is needed in some area, like for example these days AI, some areas may need to be reduced. But note that it's all relative to margins like the company wants to keep. For example, Microsoft still has like a high stock price, but they still do layoffs. And sizable layoffs. And again, it can affect normal high performance, although I heard stories of some companies like handling it more gracefully, maybe offering as alternative to switch to another area instead of being laid off. But if you look at like various companies and not just in the tech industry, it seems pretty common to do this kind of restructuring. And it's also probably one of the reasons which I think make a bit more sense. But yeah, it kind of course, sucks to be in the department which is affected. And then, but looking at perpetual years of efficiency, it seems like it's like never ending, but why? Apparently, it's just like, I think more companies trying to be more efficient creates a cascading effect where competitors are forced to try to be more efficient as well. So it's about figuring out what's the most efficient way. Whether layoffs actually achieve that efficiency long term remains to be seen. It's probably partially yes, but damage to the culture can be like hard to evaluate and understand. We may see fallout like substantially like later. And yeah, other industries do layoffs as well, and especially if there is like new technology shift. Except like modern excuse of using AI is to boost productivity is only half true due to some AI shortcomings. Um, like AI can still like hallucinate or like do some things you didn't ask it to do, and like it make mistakes that could totally have been avoided. So I think there may be like, actually it's not even my opinion, that there may be like a way to a wave of code which was written mostly by AI and that needs like fixing, and there would be a surge of need for like more engineers to actually fix the stuff written by AI. But we'll see. It's kind of hard to predict. Things kind of develop quickly. So what to do about all of this? One thing I want to highlight is keep like work-life balance, and not just like hours worked, but also mentally. Be like be sure that it's that you can disconnect and it's okay, and not think about work all the time. And specifically spend time with friends and family. So the job is basically replaceable. So yeah, layoffs just show that you are replaceable for work, but like similarly for you, you should think that yeah, job is also like kind of replaceable, even if it's more than just a job. Like, but ultimately in the end, like friends and family are not replaceable, or at least like in terms of friends, it's like also pretty hard and not what you generally want to do. Um, so and if you do an extra for the company, which is like some people just are like that, they cannot just like just do like X and like limit themselves very hard. They still like probably like do at least a little bit of extra. Yeah, make sure the company does the same and like make sure to give feedback for it to get better and see that it's like at least like pays bonuses and maybe giving you a lot of shares or like works on benefits. If it doesn't do any of that, then maybe just not worth doing much extra. It doesn't actually mean that the company is bad. They can like it like they can be worse companies that just are actively toxic, like which, for example, do this frequent layoffs and this regardless of their like stock prices and how they're doing. And sad truth is most companies these days won't do this extra. And also another thing to keep in mind though is it, you shouldn't probably think as a company as a single organism, but more like a group of different people or like sub-organizations which may have like different goals and like even CEO probably has like very limited control over like how things can be. Um, so if some things kind of suck, don't just say, "Oh, this it's a company's fault." And like you can kind of evaluate positive and negative things overall, but to be fair in doing this pros and cons analysis, I think it's a bit more like productive to think in terms of like, oh, hey, this maybe this organization or like this part of like budget spending is kind of sucks. Um, but ultimately, the company is still made up of all of these experiences, at least like your view of this. And the golden age of tech is unfortunately over. So um, even if you're considering switching, always like make sure you just don't switch like some bad company for another bad company. So yeah, that's gonna be my take on this. Um, I would still like just from speaking from my heart, just still like try if you enjoy your job and feeling like doing some extra, like helping people, just still do it if it just brings you joy. Just make sure to not sacrifice everything for that.